Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to let everyone know today I'm going to be making a how-to video. Specifically, this how-to is going to deal with how I make the wooden tops for the 23-gallon buckets. Just to show everyone how I do it. I do it a little different than Hoocho. I know Hoocho uses a jigsaw. I use a router bit with a guide. I'll show you the differences and then maybe I'll mention the pros and cons of each. Here's one of the 23-gallon buckets. And here are some pre-cut wooden, I don't know what you call them, tops that I did. And I'm gonna go over how I make mine today. So I start off with a 2 foot by 2 foot, 24 inches by 24 inch board. I take a metal ruler like this and I just draw with a marker. The reason why I'm really doing that is I want to get the middle. I know that's going to be my side where I'm going to mark, so I flip it upside down. Now, I built a small jig out of spare parts that are left over from the first couple I had to cut, and I made a jig so this will allow me to go all the way around the board without having to reposition the clamps and everything. And all I really did was take those little scraps and build them up high enough such that I can clamp this to the bottom of the board, and there's enough room for the clamps to clear and enough room for the router bit to go around. You don't need to be very precise when you're attaching this. Eyeball it to the middle, because it doesn't really matter because we're not using this to cut. This is literally just to hold it in place. I have a couple screws. They don't go all the way through on purpose. They're just meant to hold the board to the jig. The jig then gets clamped on down to the table. And if you did this right, on this side where there's no markings, you'll see the jig is, and then on the other side where the center part is marked, you'll see that we actually have, that's where we're gonna put our router. Now these two wings here on the outside, we wanna try to line these up so we can actually clamp these down to the table. Doesn't have to be perfect, just gotta make sure you can get in close enough to get your clamps on. And then I clamp down one side. I've used one clamp. However, just for safety reasons, being YouTube and whatnot, I'm gonna clamp both sides. Now I've got both sides clamped down. I know it's good, I can lift the table. Next thing we do is we take our drill bit and we find that center X part. You can use a punch or you can just push the drill bit in a little bit by hand. Again, you don't need to go all the way through. We take this piece with the screw, we line that up to the pilot hole we just drilled, and as long as it's snug, you're good to go. So now we're set up, we're ready to start cutting our circle jig. Now I'm not gonna go over all the specifics of the Milescraft jig, they have videos on that. But basically what I can tell you is the centering piece is right there, that goes over there, and when you're setting this up, find one of the sides where the drill bit just hangs off just by like a little bit, right? And you'll see it can move a little bit, but not a lot. Again, this isn't very precise woodwork. This is just for getting a circular shape that'll cover the bucket. And the most important thing, we are using power equipment. We are gonna do our goggles. One hand is here, holding that onto the middle post, and the other one is going to be moving the router and watching the cord as well. Here we go. It jumped over here when I was moving the cord. I always shut it off if that happens and never try to get that back on there while this is running. Here we go again. That's easy enough to fix. I'm gonna do a little bit more on this side. It looks like it didn't go deep here. Actually, I stand corrected. It looks like this board's a little thicker than the last one. At this point, you'll see our board is round. I am ready to take this off and start drilling the center hole out. Okay, so for this part of the video, we're kind of picking up where we left off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the center piece, just put it in reverse, gently back him out. You already got your pilot hole dug. Now we have our, in this case for me, it's 5 3/4 hole saw bit. Based on your net pot, it could be different for you. Take the center drill, line it up in the hole that we used there, and then start making our center hole. This might be the end of my Ryobi drill. Oh no, this thing's been good for a long time. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's it. When your, yow, that's hot. When your drill starts smoking, it's time for a new drill. All right, we got it. Man, I've had that Ryobi drill for a long time. Loosen the 2 clamps. We know there's one over here. Flip it over. And the jig will lift off like that. Now I have it. I can take a net pot now, put my net pot in the middle of there. So here's how all this works out. Here's my tub. Top of my tub, this will go like that. And then I'll have a net pot. Okay, this is my way of drilling these. Hoocho has his way. I just happen to have the router bits and I happen to have a bunch of this stuff already. I do have a jigsaw, but my jigsaw is like total crap. It's just not a good one. And my blades, I could buy nicer blades, but I had most of this other stuff, so I figured why not do it with a router? And as we know for sure, the router's always gonna give us a better circle. Not that the plant cares one bit about that, but anyway, so that's how I drill. That is how I drill my, whatchamacallit, these things. I guess this could be my thumbnail. Woohoo! So this is Dave. I'm just saying thanks for watching my video on how to cut the round boards to hold your net pot, or 23-gallon tubs, I guess I should say. Over here, I have, I guess it's 3 more boards ready to go. I'm gonna cut those at some point. I hadn't seen anyone else on YouTube using their router to cut those. I'm sure there's a lot of woodworkers that just already knew. But for those of you that didn't want a jigsaw, didn't like the jigsaw, or maybe you already own a router and had bits, maybe you even had the Milescraft jig. The Milescraft jig though is not expensive. I think it's cheaper to get, if you already own a router, I think it's cheaper to buy the Milescraft jig than it is to get a quality jigsaw. Anyway, I used my Milescraft jig. I showed everybody how I do it, how I cut every one of those out there. I think I got 40 some odd tubs with plants growing in them now, and I'm adding 5 this weekend. And fill the water up, put in the NFT or the nutrient stuff, clay pellet. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the likes, the subscribes. All 5 people that